Yeah, this MGNX is sick. I wish this little sucker didn't go just yet. I know Taylor was playing this thing in the chat room in the pre-market. I was hoping it would wait for us a little bit. You know, like I don't want to see the big breakout before market already opens. You know, that $6, $7, $8, that's the move. That's the move you're looking for, you know. So this thing's probably got, you know, up to 32-ish, you know, at some point during the day. But we'll keep an eye on it. Good morning, everybody. ¿Cómo estás? Sweet. So, hey, look, the market right now is right at a sweet spot. It's right at resistance, and it's a little bit extended. But the market's, frankly, just too strong to really be shorting. You know, it dumps real quick, and then it just rebounds back. That's the sign of a really strong market. When you have, like, intraday dumps, and you're really overbought, and you think, like, you should have a big, strong pullback, but you can't. I mean, that's like a... You know, when you're reading the tape on the market and getting a feel for the market, the intraday price action is so important, right? And when you have, like, you know, gaps fill and then you just immediately bounce back and you get back near high of days, that's a really, really strong sign for the market. So we're right at resistance. Probably everybody thinks like short, short, short. And frankly, if you were just looking at pure technicals in terms of the chart, you're overbought. 95 stochastics, very overbought. You're at the 200-day moving average, but we're internally, you know, the underlying strength is still there. And so it's like the chart says short, but the intraday price action is really saying not short, you know. And so what happens when you get a day like when you're in that position in the general market is it's better to just kind of stick with earnings moves and stuff like that. Right now, there's so many stocks that are moving on earnings today. I mean, there's more than we can even really go over. But there's, you know, you don't have to play anything with, you know, the intraday. You don't have to play any regular technical stocks today because there's a lot of earnings play. So let's talk about some of these things. I got the Zendesk on watch here today for ORB because its float's pretty low. This thing can ORB really hard. You know, when we think about ORB, right, we're thinking about that. Right, that opening consolidation and then push. Look, you know it's a strong market when stocks like freaking Estee Lauder are running ORBs and popping $4, $5, $6, $7. Right, that's like as picture perfect as you can get. And if retail stocks are doing that, I mean, then it's just game on at that point. You know, you don't see that from retail stocks that often. You know, they've sucked for years. And now, like, you know, even if they're going, then that tells you that the bull is back on. So that's what you're looking for at the open, guys, right? That kind of pattern. You want that gap up on an earnings play, and then that really, really tight kind of consolidation, and then it goes. So, like, when you're looking at a Zendesk or something like that, right, that's the setup you're really looking for, right? As long as it hangs out above 72, you're going to have a little bit of that action. Man, I just had these fucking things ranked. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Number two, obviously we have this MGNX on watch. Issue is that this thing just fucking took off pre-market. You know, while I'm doing class in the morning, you know, I'm like staring at it. I was thinking about taking this friggin' shred at 24. I know Taylor did it. I got sidetracked. This thing's already going. So it's probably going to need to pull back at the open. It's already up 200% at this point. This thing will be one of those... If it dumps hard at the open, watch it start to level out. Watch it start to level out. It'll either pull back to the 9 EMA and start to level out. But if it starts to level out and then kind of remounts the VWAP, that's where I would hit this thing. That's where I would hit this thing. I wouldn't try to chase this thing up, you know, 200%, right? Really let it snap back and then let it do what it wants. So look, the float on this is 16.8 million. So it can move like this. EOS. Anybody play this thing yesterday? Right? So I know Brad was probably the first one to call this bad boy out in the chat yesterday. But, you know, this thing moved really, really clean, right? And you had flag pattern after flag pattern, and everything was just smoking on it. The reason a $20 stock can move like that, right? So, right, you don't have to just trade penny poppers all day to make money, right? A reason a $20 stock can move like that is, you know, the float on this is like 10 million shares. Well, you get 7 million, you know, 7 million shares in volume, well, that thing's going to start to cook, right? You're going to start to really kind of push over that float and flip it around and move it around and shake it around and dipsy-do on that thing. So that's when, you can get that like hot heat. And so, this MGNX, it's got a similar type of float. Issue is, right, it's up a lot. So if this thing snaps back at the open, we'll be watching this. I won't try to chase this thing up into this old resistance spot because that's going to be really, that's really going to be a tricky spot for you to kind of come in hot. You don't want to come in too hot on something up 200%. Ideally, right, you want it to really, really pull back. So just kind of be mindful of that. This EA looks pretty nice. It's already kind of creeping up pre-market. I know the SSR triggered on this thing, so it may need to squeeze off at the open before, it kind of rolls back over. I'll be watching we'll be watching this thing down for an ORB, though. It moves pretty well. It's a little bit thick. It's a $30 billion company, but it moves pretty well. TTWO, I really like this one if it can stay under this resistance or support spot, which is around 90, 99, 98. If you could keep under that, right, and build the pattern under that, I think you're going to have some heat. But, if it remounts back up into the hundreds, you're going to have a tricky time. You're going to have a tricky time trying to get in this thing because you'll have support on the daily chart. Remember when you're taking, these ORBs and stuff like that, you really want the cleanest daily chart. So it's got to break under the daily, right? And it's got to hold under there. Then you build the pattern and you're going to get going, right? So this will be an interesting one as long as it stays under that kind of 9,900 level. If it remounts back up, leave it alone, right? We don't even want to mess with it. AMRS is already kind of getting flushed out a little bit here. Obviously, this thing had the big push. I'd watch this one, but, one thing to be mindful of is, watch a couple levels here. If this 5 spot holds, that could be a potential spot for a potential rebound. Ideally, you want the SSR to kind of trigger back on this thing. If the SSR triggers on it, then you're going to get a much better squeeze on it. That comes on, right, when the stock gets down 10%. With these small caps, most of them are turds, but the ones that end up getting 30, 40, 50 million shares in volume, those are the ones that usually have legs. A lot of times if you're looking at a small cap stock and you see like it's got 2 million shares in volume, that's not going to work, right? The ones that have been really breaking out, the ones that are like really busting loose and giving you that huge return, they're the ones that are going 30, 40, 50, 60 million shares in volume. That expansion in volume is what gives it the fuel. Remember that stocks, right? They measure their emotional intensity from volume, right? It adds validity to the price action of what's happening and assigns meaning to it. And so you really need to see, right, in the tens of millions that get interested in some of these things. Snappy Chat is popping up. They reported, I think it was like a 67% increase in the amount of dick pics that have been sent across, the U.S. with major growth coming from the India market. The Indians just whipping out their small little wieners and just sending it to their friends and relatives, and it's just gone crazy. And so now they're really just popping up 22%. My people are just going nuts. They've been liberated. For years, we've been held down by poverty and religion. And the Snappy Chat has just emboldened us to show, right? To show our wieners. Like just nice people, right? Like the good old Americans, right? Just whip it out, rub it around. Obviously we're a little bit more hairy people, so we got to kind of like pull it back and let it loose. But, it's my right as an Indian man to also try this, and that's what I'm going to do. And so a 67%, 67% increase is huge, right? So that's really good, and so we'll have this on watch for potential. This thing may have room up to about 10, and then we'll get this thing going. Spotify, has missed its earnings today. I got this on watch for ORB, and then, man, there's a whole host of these things you have to keep on your watch list. Look, when the market gets like this, what you need to really do, right, is start using your other monitors. Start putting around charts everywhere, right? I got charts all over my, all over my stuff, but it becomes hard. Like, so there's 13 names on the gapper list. Like, how the heck do we narrow this down, right? Like, how do we make sure we're actually able to capture some of it without really dusting ourselves? And that becomes huge. So what you want to always be doing, rank your plays, right? Rank your plays. Focus down the list. Because the last thing you want to do, remember, we have limited amounts of capital, right? We can't just sashay around. We can't sashay around one after another and just jump in and out, right? Anybody ever play? Anybody ever play a hot potato with the stock because you're just seeing too much stuff move around and you're like, I did that yesterday, man. It was like I was in one and I was popping to another, and then you end up playing hot potato and you end up nowhere. And that's kind of what I did yesterday. I think I ended up like a plus $10 or something because there were so many hot plays. I just kept hot potatoing around. And so, today, tier your plays. That's my goal today is to, tier my plays. So spend a little bit more time tiering them and making sure they're ready to go. And that's going to help you, right? So how do you tier your plays? Well, everybody's a little bit different in the type of plays they like, right? So you got to always kind of think like, what are the plays that I like? What are the type of plays that I like? And that's going to be really, really important. We've got to think about price, think about volume, think about sectors, different stuff like that, and then kind of narrow down the type of plays you like. Yeah, Mr. Estrada, I do like the Pacey. I got on my list too. I think if it holds out over this 160, you're going to have a chance on this one also. This is going to be a hot day to trade. I'm anticipating this is going to be one of the best days to trade in a while because there's heat moving around. There's heat moving around everywhere. So today, the first 30 minutes, guys, you're gonna probably make your week if you play it right. There's just enough heat to get really a lot of action going. So let's go do what we got to do. Let's be good. Make me proud. Try not to screw up. Don't forget about the good old people of India and the snappy chats, right? Don't short that thing. We deserve to be liberated. And I love you guys. Let's go make some money.